moment, changed completely with my statement. There's something I need to tell Adam. I mustered up the courage, thinking it was important to talk as we were about to build a trusting relationship as a family. Yes, what is it? Actually, I'm not Catherine's biological father. Not her real dad. So, we're not family, and it's cut-off time. That was an unexpected reply, and I was momentarily stunned before managing to say, I see. As if it was all I could muster.
Adam, I cannot marry you. Please, go home.
Huh. My name is Robert Morrison, and I'm 55 years old. I was traumatized when my grandfather died when I was little. This experience initially made me want to become a doctor. But, well, I couldn't keep up academically and didn't become one. So, I thought of supporting doctors with the latest medical technologies. And, I got a job at a medical device manufacturer. During my busy work days, I met my wife, who was a doctor. By that time, she already had a daughter named Catherine, and her husband had died of an illness. As we talked about various things every time we met at work, I found myself drawn to her. I thought it would be a nuisance to express my feelings to her, as she was struggling to balance work and parenting. But, the more we talked, the more we found we had similar views and sympathies. Eventually, I couldn't contain my feelings and confessed, managing to get an okay. We had a small ceremony with just the three of us, and Catherine was happy about it. Despite being busy, I was happy and assumed it would last forever. But tragedy strikes when you least expect it. 5 years into our marriage, my wife died suddenly of a myocardial infarction. I couldn't even say goodbye, once again witnessing the loss of a loved one. At that time, Catherine was in her senior year of high school, a challenging age. But she was a good child, and she said we should support each other. Since then, I've done my best to let her pursue whatever path she wants without worry. The job she chose was, surprisingly, at a medical device manufacturer. Didn't you want to do anything else, Catherine?
Why do you ask?
Because I told you about the company I worked for, right?
Yeah.
I told you I had aspirations, but I was swamped with work and it was tough, right?
Yes, but I also want to help save important people as much as I can.
Hearing that, I almost teared up but managed to hide it. If that's what you think, Catherine, I'll support you.
Thank you.
She said with a bright smile. It was around the time when she had been working for 6 years and began to enjoy her job. There was a time when she came home looking unusually stylish. I thought she wasn't interested in makeup, but she started wearing it, although not too flashy. I figured she probably had a boyfriend, but I've decided to keep quiet and not pry. A few months later, Catherine told me she was dating someone. His name is Adam Thompson, and he works in the same field but for a different company. They hit it off during a seminar. Catherine's happy face as she talked about him resembled that of my late wife. Sometimes I remember and feel like crying, but I always hold it back. Despite not being blood-related, she has grown up to be a truly good child. Ever since my wife passed away, she frequently took care of me. Even when I say I'm okay, she wouldn't believe me.
You're probably just eating out every day, not having anything decent.
The moment she comes home, she says that, and I go silent because she hit the mark. Now that she had a boyfriend, I hoped she'd start focusing on him instead. Their relationship seemed to be going well, and her visits became gradually less frequent. I felt a bit lonely but was happy if she was happy. There were occasional fights, and she'd always come over during those times.
Hey, Dad. Why do guys always try to act cool?
Well, nobody wants to look embarrassing in front of someone they like.
But trying to put on airs like that, it's so childish when it's so obvious.
She'd often vent to me about her boyfriend like this. But I could tell she really liked this guy, Adam. Half a year later, she sat down in front of me with a serious look.
Dad, I have something to tell you.
Oh, yes. What? What is it? I had an idea what it might be, but I still got all flustered.
I'm thinking of marrying Adam.
It had been a year into their relationship. If you think he's the right one, I won't object.
Thanks. Let's have dinner together sometime.
Ah, right, I'm looking forward to it. A month later, she organized a dinner. It was my first time meeting Adam. The place was a fancy restaurant with a private VIP room. Hey, we didn't have to go somewhere this fancy for dinner. I muttered to myself as I was led to our table, where Catherine and Adam were already waiting.
Thanks for coming, Dad. This is my fiancé, Adam Thompson.
Nice to meet you. I'm Adam Thompson, Catherine's boyfriend. He seemed like a genuinely nice guy, very impressive. I'm Robert Morrison, Catherine's father. Pleasure to meet you. I replied, taking my seat somewhat stiffly. While sitting there feeling humbled, the food was brought out. I was not used to such fancy places, and the food was unfamiliar.
Wow, this looks delicious. Let's eat.
Catherine exclaimed, breaking the ice and allowing me to finally start eating. She skillfully facilitated our conversation, allowing us to chat. Adam had studied advanced technology abroad for 3 years after graduating from college. He then worked for a mid-sized manufacturer in America before moving to a major company 2 years ago. He met Catherine at a seminar around that time. They shared common goals and musical tastes, which brought them closer. Especially since they were fans of a relatively obscure artist. They told me how they coordinated their schedules to go to concerts together and had a blast. Watching them, I felt reassured that I could leave her in his care.
Excuse me, I need to use the restroom.
Catherine said, leaving us men alone. I took the opportunity to discuss something important with him. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage, and confessed to Adam. But the atmosphere, which had been amiable until that point, changed with my single statement. There's something I need to tell you. I mustered up the courage, thinking it was time to start building a trusting relationship as a family. Yeah, what is it? Actually, I'm not Catherine's real father. As soon as I said it, it felt like time had stopped, and we both froze. And then, Adam's face began to harden quickly. Not her real father. Then we're not family, so let's just disown each other. That was an unexpected response, and all I could manage after being momentarily stunned was a weak. I see. Taking care of each other in old age without any blood relation is impossible. Plus, I can't deal with being hit up for money. His dismissive words don't really stick in my memory. Then Catherine came back, and it felt like time started moving again. Adam's face returned to its earlier smile, and he poured me a drink.
Hey, what were you guys talking about?
Oh, that's a secret between men, right, Robert? Yeah, that's right. It feels like I've gained a son, and I'm happy about it. Dodging the question was the best I could do. After the meal, Catherine and I said we'd be staying at my parents' house and parted ways with Adam. Trying not to let Catherine see, Adam gave me a look that said not to say anything. I didn't want to cause any trouble for Catherine, and I wasn't planning to be a burden in the first place. We took a taxi home.
Thanks for today.
You know, we didn't have to go somewhere so fancy today.
What are you talking about? It's nice to splurge once in a while, right?
Well, as long as Catherine is happy, I'm happy.
What's with that all of a sudden? I will be happy.
I'm always on your side, you know.
What? Did something happen?
No, just feeling a bit sentimental, I guess. Haha.
What's that about? But thank you.
A month later, there's going to be a party at Adam's company, inviting shareholders. It's held in celebration of the company's 30th anniversary. It was to honor various employees for their excellence. Of course, employees were expected to help out with the event. I knew because I was there too. Wearing a suit for the first time in a while felt strangely uncomfortable. After the host announced the start of the party, there were speeches from the president and guests. During that, I unexpectedly ran into Catherine's fiancé, Adam. He came up to me, speaking in a low voice so others wouldn't hear. Huh? Why are you here? Oh, Adam. I'm sorry for the trouble the other day. Did you come to snitch about what I said? Absolutely not. I was just invited and decided to come. Invited? Why would a big company like ours invite you? Well, you say that, but it's bothersome having you here, so please leave. And don't you dare talk about this to anyone. Got it? Now scram. It was harsh, but I couldn't just leave. Eventually, Adam disappeared somewhere. The party moved on to the award ceremony for outstanding employees. There were various awards, and gifts were handed out by the president and executives. And then the host announced the next award.
Now, we have a special gift of appreciation for employees who have served for many years, presented by our leading shareholder, Mr. Robert Morrison. Please, Mr. Morrison, if you would.
Being called, I went up on the stage. Nearby, Adam looked up at me, his mouth agape in shock. Yes, I was the leading shareholder of a major medical device manufacturer. I addressed the employees with words of appreciation and presented them with a certificate of recognition. As I stepped down from the stage, Adam approached me with a pale face. You're the leading shareholder of our company? Don't worry about it. I'm just happy if Catherine is happy. At that, Adam seemed a bit relieved but then immediately showed a surprised expression.
Dad.
Catherine, you're late.
Well, of course. I was busy working.
Adam was flustered seeing us together. Huh? What? Why is Catherine here too? Catherine, didn't you tell him?
I forgot. Yes, I'm also a shareholder here.
A shareholder?
Well, it was transferred to me by Dad, though.
Adam looked surprised but relieved. So, your family is wealthy, huh?
Not really. It's more like an inheritance from my late mom.
Indeed, I became the leading shareholder thanks to my late wife. Before she passed away, she had managed to build up our assets through investment studies, even amidst her busy schedule, just in case something happened to her. I was oblivious to this, working tirelessly to the point of ruining my health. She told me that if I couldn't pursue what I wanted because of my job, it was okay to quit. And then she transferred half of her shares to me. I cherished it and learned to work to the extent that my motivation wouldn't fade away. Eventually, I was able to further build our assets, becoming the leading shareholder. Adam started buttering me up. Robert, you're being too modest. You should have told me you were an investor when we first met. Then, out of nowhere, Catherine dropped a bombshell.
Adam, I cannot marry you. Please leave.
What?
I'm saying I can't marry someone who's after money.
Hey, Catherine, what are you basing this on?
Basis? I have a basis.
Catherine pulled out a phone from her bag. It was the one she had used before. After some tapping and swiping, a voice began to play. What? What I heard next was the conversation from that upscale restaurant. It was the talk that happened when Catherine stood up, leaving us two alone. How is this possible? Then Catherine began to explain. She did have feelings for him as a lover, but there were things about him as a person she couldn't come to terms with. One issue was his occasional condescending remarks. Especially towards people who seemed to be lacking in wealth, his harsh words were troubling. To be honest, as her father, I usually don't look like someone who carries a lot of cash around. I'm aware of that and don't spend much on my personal belongings. So, she was worried that even as the fiancé's father, I might be subjected to such disdain. That's why she secretly left her phone recording when she left the table. On her way home, she was also bothered by the fact that I hadn't said anything about Adam. After listening to the recording, she realized she couldn't go through with it. The recording wasn't loud, but it was quite audible in the room. Immediately, the company's CEO came rushing over and started apologizing. I quickly asked him to stop, apologizing for causing a disturbance. Catherine, this is going too far.
But I couldn't stand to see the most important person in my life being treated like this.
Hearing this, I immediately broke into tears. Adam was making a fuss nearby, but he was taken away by his boss and disappeared. Afterward, we managed to restart and successfully conclude the party. On the way home, I apologized to Catherine. I'm sorry for getting angry earlier. I was actually very happy.
No, I think I went too far too. But now I feel relieved. Dad, I'm hungry now that I feel relieved. Let's go somewhere you can treat me.
Alright, let's find a place to stop by.
Yay!
Her smile finally returned. Later, the CEO came to our house to apologize again. That's when I heard the story. Adam was originally a nephew of one of the executives and had transferred to the company through connections. At his previous job, he was nearly fired for constant failures. They had reluctantly hired him, but he was negligent in his work because he relied on his connections. He's said to be a goldbricker. However, being vain, it seems he spent a lot on clothes, cars, and meals. His good looks apparently helped him deceive various women. Moreover, he was drowning in debt and had even embezzled company funds. The company planned to fire him and sue for damages. I also heard that there were complaints filed by women he had deceived. With his massive debt, he won't have the luxury to show off anymore. Catherine, having completely moved on, was working harder than ever. Anyway, as long as Catherine is happy, that's all that matters to me. S.